Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. So before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Ninyoman Padma Devi, and I'm from Undiksa. But before we start, let me tell you that I usually like to have everybody to open the camera. That's the way how I teach. So can you please everybody open your camera so we can start having you, because we are on screen. It's not that easy to teach you with the camera off. Okay. Thank you. Soraya, can I have your face? I would like to have your smile. Risa as well. Tiara Alfadia as well. So Yogi, you are the coordinator of the class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the number of students supposed to be
18.
18. So now you are only 14. Oh, now, yeah, 14. So still 4 more. Well, okay, before we start, I would like all of you open the camera, please. That's the rule of attending my class. Risa, because I will ask you sometime in the middle of talking, I would like to say ask somebody to answer question. Right, okay, before we start, let me introduce myself a bit more so you will understand and also have more information about me. I'm a professor in English language education. I started my, my school in FKIP at that time, which is a part of Diana University. And I continued my study for master degree in Australia. So I studied in Macquarie University, Australia. And I had my doctorate degree in Udayana University again. I got my professorship in 2007. So already 16 years ago. And I had the chance to go many countries, to almost Asia countries, Australia, America, and not yet to Europe. But I attended several conferences online in Europe. And in my job as a lecturer in Undiksa, Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, I had the chance to set up school. So I'm the founders of several schools at the moment. So I set up a bilingual kindergarten. So as the first bilingual kindergarten in North Bali, I also founded a school that is internationally based, that is called North Bali Bilingual School, which is a favorite school in North Bali at the moment. I also started or founded a diploma, a school that is 1-year program for those who already finished the study. So I have diploma 1, which is already been 13 years. I also the founder and the head of a foundation which is internationally linked. And I'm also the program coordinator and also program designer for student of special need. So that is a bit about myself. So then you have a kind of information about me and my experiences. Every year I go abroad in order to go to some schools and have a kind of comparisons, or maybe I go for socializing the result of my research in conferences. So that's why I'm connected a lot to some schools or any partner abroad. All right. Okay, I would like to know about you a bit. So you are a degree now, you are the first semester, am I right? Started to have the second semester right now? Yes or not?
Yes, ma'am. We are just entering
Yes,
the
ma'am.
semester.
Okay, good. Are you working at the moment?
Yes. Oh, most of us.
What kind of job that you have at the moment? Noveli?
Yes, ma'am. I am as a staff administration in the Palangkaraya University.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But in my free time, I teach English for private class.
All right, good. So all of you are working. So you are part-timer at the moment. Part-time student, all of you? Ya or not? Apakah semua di sini sambil bekerja? Part-time? Or are you actually full-time student? Hanya kuliah doang? Yes or no? How many of you are full-time student? Hello? Listen.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, the first rule that I would like to have, I don't like to talk person who are silent, just like a statue. I don't like it, right? So that's the rule that you have in attending my class. The first one is that you have to have the camera on. The second one, we are interactive, right? We are interactive. So, right. So can I ask you a question? How many of you are full-timer? Just raise your hand.
Me, just full-time students.
All right, that's good. So you are full-time student?
Yes. Actually, I was working, but I decided to resign because I think that it's gonna be better if I give all of my focus to study in this magister.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. You have a kind of free time to do your assignment and to focus yourself on your study. Good. So your name is Tiara?
Yes, my name is Tiara.
Okay. Other than Tiara, is there any other student who are full-timer?
Me, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Yogi, so you are full-timer.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's good. Other student?
I am, ma'am.
All right. Swaibah.
Yes.
All right. Good. So that's a good one. The other one? Part-timer?
Teacher, ma'am.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yes, so usually when I teach my student, because in Undiksa, I teach S1 degree student, I teach S2 degree or master degree, and at the same time, I also teach, and at the same time, I'm also coordinator of doctorate degree program. So I was a long time, maybe 7 years, of being the coordinator of master degree program in Undiksa. Because we already have doctorate degree program. So I'm at the moment the coordinator of doctorate degree program of Undiksa. In my services as the coordinator of master degree program, I usually try to provide my student a kind of opportunity to be able to start writing as early as possible. And most of them, last year, we have students who can finish their master degree in 3 semesters. Why? Because we introduce students with any kinds of information in every subject. The student is given a kind of inspiration, what can be continued into a research. Right? So you are able to get any ideas from any subject that you are attending. So similar to the topic, the subject that I'm going to teach, because I'm going to teach, my part will be teaching English, method of teaching English, and Ibu Merita will be focusing on psycholinguistics. So in my teaching, because the schedule that I have, that I will have 4 sessions with you. So during the 4 sessions, I will be giving you more ideas about method of teaching that is more recent and updated and innovative. And hopefully, from the sessions that we are going to have, you will have ideas what to write for your thesis. So that is how I usually started my class. I hope that they are having a kind of open mind about ideas that they can follow up into a research after attending the class. So that's the way how I usually carry out my session. And I never give my student a kind of 2 hours testing, 2 hours assessment now. So as a kind of a score for me, so a student usually is given a kind of assignment that must be conducted, that must be done at home, either to make a kind of plans of teaching or summarize a kind of an article. So by having those kind of assignment, I can get a kind of any information about the level of your achievement. So I will be asking you to do a kind of assignment later in order I can give you the correct score. So the assignment will be informed later, so you can make a kind of a planning or choosing a method that you can use in order you are able to teach in any level. So those kind of assignment will be informed later, might be in the next session. I will inform about what will be the assignment that you have to do. And I will also give the criteria how assessment must be done. Usually in our university in Undiksa, any assignment that must be submitted must be free from plagiarism. So the plagiarism level is tolerated until 25% maximum. So any assignment that you can later submit to me must be what is it? Free from plagiarism. Right, that is introduction from me. Is there any information or any question before we start? Okay, that's the first one. The second one, usually during the process of teaching online, I always like to have interaction with you. So either you can start to ask me question in the middle. If, for example, I'm teaching and suddenly you have a kind of confusion or you want to ask me question, you can just directly ask me question, raise hand or just talk, or I can give you question. So that's the way how I do my session. I will not talk alone. So we will be discussing in the middle, and hopefully we are able to have a kind of a good interaction in the topic about teaching or method of teaching English for English as a foreign language. Okay. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. I would like to share screen so we can start to have the lesson. The first lesson will be giving you a kind of orientation, a kind of foundations, how method of teaching must be implemented, must be designed in your classroom, right? So I would like to give you a kind of general information at the beginning, from which you will understand how the method of teaching must be designed, must be implemented in the classroom. Okay. I would like to share screen. Okay, can you see the screen clearly?
It's clear, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to start my session by informing about national education goal. Why we started the discussion from this point, because whatever we do at the moment in education, we have to refer to the national goal that is, emphasized by the Ministry of Education and Culture. From the law number 20, 2003 about national education system, Article 3, you can see what is the aim of the national education. And it is also supported by the national education function, like what is stated on screen. Okay, if you read yourself on screen, we can see that the goals of the Indonesian education is that how you are able to build or to establish generation that who are intelligent and have good character. Or in bahasa Indonesia we can say cerdas berkarakter. Right? Why we are starting from this one? Because I would like to emphasize that whatever the method that you are going to use in teaching English, your responsibility is not only to teach English, but how you build character of your students. So being intelligent, being knowledgeable, being competent in the subject matter that you teach, and at the same time being able to develop their character. So why? Because it is stipulated in the national goal of Indonesia. So national goal of Indonesia actually emphasizing any generation to be able to establish students who are having good character and at the same time who are intelligent, who are smart and having good character. So if you are teaching, you have to think about how the character is also established, is also developed when you are at the same time teaching your student the subject matter that you teach. Right? So that's why when I started the lesson today, I asked you to open the camera, because opening the camera is a part of attitude for me. So if you are seriously and committed to the session that we have, so that can be indicated by how you attended the lesson. So that's why I asked you to open the camera, because opening the camera is one indicator that you are serious, that you are committed to the session that we have. Why? Because I totally understand that my role is not only teaching about academic to make you smart, but at the same time to establish your character. This is what is stated by the national education goal that we have in Indonesia. Right. So in another kind of rules and law that we also need to pay attention is the law dealing with higher education, Permendikbud nomor 12 2012. From this kind of law, we understand that the function of higher education is like this, and the objective is like this. If you can see that, also more elaborative to what I mentioned before, look at this: developing abilities and forming character of dignified national civilization in order to educate the life of the nation. Develop an innovative, responsive, creative, skilled, competitive, cooperative academic community through the implementation of three Dharma, and developing science and technology by taking into account and applying humanities values. So from this one, you can see that we are here in a university degree has a kind of responsibility how you as a part of a community will be able to develop your competencies either through a teaching and learning process, through doing research, and also community services. The objective, look at this. The first one, you get this, the first one, developing the potential of student to become human being who believe and fear God Almighty and have noble character, be healthy, knowledgeable, capable, creative, independent, skilled, competent, and cultured for, yeah, you can see in here, for the benefit of the nation. So our rule is on here, right? And the next one, produce graduate who master the branch of science and or technology. So the objective here is that how to make you become competent graduate, at the same time, how you are also at the same time are able to have good character. So based on this, you are actually trying to fulfill the objective of the education. If now we are in Indonesia, we are under the national education system in Indonesia. So the hierarchy of education that you have to follow is like this. We have institutional objective, the objective of a university. So say, for example, you are in Universitas Palangkaraya. What is actually the objective of studying in that institution? Habis itu dijabarkan menjadi tujuan kurikuler. Curricular objective, that is the objective in the level of the subject matter. And in this one, institutional general instructional objective, what is the objective in the level of the theme that you have? And this one, tujuan instructional khusus, is that specific instructional objective, the objective that you have to set up on the first topic, on any topic that you teach. So when you are teaching, you have to be able to build in your mind what is actually the objective that you have, that your students are able to achieve. From this one, and then you are able to decide what will be the method that you have to choose. If, for example, you have to teach in elementary school, for example, or in a university, for example, or you are teaching reading course, for example, you have to set up in your mind what is the objective of teaching that one. From that one, then you are able to decide what method that you have to choose. So if you don't understand what is the purpose of your subject, then it is difficult for you to teach or to decide what method that must be appropriate. Because you can be just teaching, but the point is that whether the process of teaching that you choose, the method of teaching that you choose, has been able to make the student to fulfill the objective of the course. So that's why you have to understand this first. Okay. May I ask you a question to let me know? Is there any, for you a teacher, can you tell me that what is actually the objective that you have? Siapa tadi yang mengajar juga mengajar private course? Yeah, Noveli. Now, you are having private course, right? Yang masuk di situ pesertanya siapa saja? Who are they?
They are an elementary student, and I also teach my daughter by myself in English subject. Most of them I teach according to their school curriculum. Like if they have a chapter that talk about part of the body, for example, I will be following their textbook actually. And the next, after having the material from their book, sometimes I show them video, or I play a simple game like singing song about the body, like that.
Right. So if, for example, you now design English course for elementary school student, right? So the way you teach, the method of teaching will very much depend on the purpose, right? You might ask the parents, what are the purpose of sending the kids to attend your course? If, for example, the purpose is in order to be able or in order to understand the English course given at school, then the method of teaching will be, no, Feli? The method of teaching will be?
The method of the teaching according to the school curriculum.
Yeah, so you might be teaching based on the assignment given at the school, isn't it?
Yes.
Based on the school curriculum. But what about if, for example, the purpose of attending your course is to make the student able to make communication with people outside? So what will be the method of teaching that you use? Can you use the way for example, textbook oriented, for example?
Around this time that I use the only source only from the internet, like the worksheet, ma'am. And I admit that the method that I use were not much communicative, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by, if, for example, the purpose of the attending your class is for communication, for example, or I would like to send my kid to your course because I would like to take my student to go to London for 1 month, so he is able to be there communicating using English because we will be there for 1 month, for example. If we have that purpose, of course, we cannot use the same method like what was mentioned before. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you have to do, you have to provide the activities or the method of teaching that you use must be giving the opportunity for the student to practice their daily communication. Why? Because that is the purpose of attending English course. Is it clear for you also? That's why before you are deciding what method that you have to use, you have to understand what is the method of what is the purpose of the course that you are going to have. So you have to be able to decide the purpose first, or the goal or the objective. Yeah, after that you are able to decide. So that's why choosing the method is not always the same and appropriate if the purpose is different. One method is considered to be appropriate, but it is not guaranteed that that method will be also appropriate if you use it for another purpose. So number one, you have to decide what is the purpose that you are going to have. Right? Okay. Now, for those who are teachers, I would like to ask you a question. We mentioned before that the process of teaching and learning in Indonesia is that the general goal of Indonesian education system is how you are able to create or to produce smart, intelligent generation and also having a good character, right? Smart and having good character. For those who are teaching, I would like to give you any information about it. For those who are not teaching, I would like you to reflect about what you experience when you are student in high school or in S1 degree. I would like to ask opinion of the student now. Risa, what is your opinion? Are you a teacher? If you are not a teacher, you are able to observe your experience when you are student before master degree. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I'm a teacher, ma'am.
All right, very good.
Yeah. Senior high school. So to answer this question, is the learning process in class that I am teach right now appropriate to produce a smart and intelligent generation? I think it doesn't meet 100% produce a smart and intelligence, because actually
it is because of the student intake in my school that they are come from a very remote area. So it is a little bit harder for them to achieve the level of the what is that, to the education in bigger city like in Palangkaraya, because in their previous school, in their SMP, it is a very big what is that, jenjang yang sangat berbeda when they are in their SMP and when they come here. So it is a bit like teaching them is a bit like running, ma'am. So I have to find the most effective way to teach them, because the prior knowledge is very low for them. So in my opinion, in my class, it is very hard to produce a smart and intelligent generation in this century, because actually the sarana prasarana good enough. In my school, we have a laboratorium, we have library and etc. But the student intake is very teaching English. I cannot use Indonesian language. I cannot use bahasa Indonesia in teaching English. I have to use our local language here, ma'am. So there's a big gap here to teach them. So I think I have in my class, I don't think that I can produce a smart and intelligent generation yet, but we try so hard in our school too, with our visi and misi in our school. So
okay, thank you so much, Riza, for your opinion. Just for your information, for all of you, in my school, I told you, I have primary school that is a bilingual school, and also I have kindergarten that is also bilingual kindergarten. Do you know that my teacher in elementary school, the first time, the first year, even the first day of teaching for English teacher, even though taught by local teacher, cannot use any translation. Teachers must use English all the time. Also the same in a kindergarten. If, for example, they have English class, they have to be able to attend a class with English language all the time. The question might be how that to be done, how that be possible. Like I told you, the purpose might be different. The purpose that we have is that how to make the student able to communicate in English. So the purpose is that how English is used as a means to live in Bali, not to get good score. It's not enough. So what we do is that the process of teaching, the method that we use is that using natural approach. What is meant by natural approach? Do you still remember your class in S1 degree? Anyone still remember what is meant by natural approach? The natural approach is that the approach of teaching, like how you learn to communicate using your mother tongue. Right? So you are not using translation. You are not teaching through grammar. So the first emphasis will be that the person is talking and the student is listening. If they are not able to speak yet, they have to be able to respond by using any gesture. So the teacher must use English all the time, just like the way you use Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Bali to your student. It must be naturally conducted like that. So that's how we do it. It is very possible. So if you are teaching about the language, then you will think about how to teach about the structure. If you teach about the structure, then you think about how your students are able to read first. So that's why it is a bit difficult. right? So the approach must be understood. So later we will discuss about it. So this is a way of reflection actually, whether the way you teach is right. If it is not right, you need to learn how to improve, how to make it right. If you think that the method of teaching is not the appropriate yet, you have to think about how to make it more appropriate. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, now we are changing, not only because of the pandemic situation that we just experienced before, but also the development of the generation, because also the development of technology and knowledge force us to change the way we teach. 5 years ago, might be using different method compared with now. Why? Because there are two factors which influence why the process of learning and the process of teaching must be changed. The first one is internal factor. What is meant by this? Do you agree that many courses tend to be theoretical and many are teacher-centered? Anybody can tell me? Do you agree with this one, Rispa? Rispa, can you give your opinion? Halo, Rispa Nur Aisyah. Are you there? Yeah, so that's why I asked you not to close the camera. So can you tell me, what is your opinion about what I said before? Do you agree? Mabi Yogi, can I ask your opinion?
About many courses tend to be theoretical and many are teacher-centered, right, ma'am?
Yeah, do you agree with this one?
In my opinion, it's not good for student, man, because many theory for student is not good for them. It must be need more practice, man.
Yeah, do you agree that the process of learning and the process of teaching must be changed? Because at the moment, many courses tend to be theoretical and many teachers are teacher-centered. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay, can you tell me in what way do you think the teachers are still teacher-centered? Can you give me example of teacher-centered activity?
Because the student need more practice, I will
I
give
would like
them
to ask about the example of teacher-centered. How do you say that? How do you say that a certain process of teaching is considered as teacher-centered? Can you give example?
I'm sorry, I'm absolutely not a teacher, but based on my experience in PPL semester in S1, in the teaching, I will bring them into a game so they will more attractive in learning, man, because they like to fun experience in learning, man.
Yeah, okay, but what I want to ask you, the example of activities which are teacher-centered. Not why the teacher-centered activity is not good. The example, any example of teaching learning activities which are teacher-centered. Siapa yang bisa?
I'm still confusing, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I just want to make interaction with you, right? Rika Soraya.
This is my opinion about teacher center. Teacher center actually, when the teacher only explain in front of the students and theoretically, and then they don't let the students to tell their opinion. That's my opinion about many courses tend to be theoretical and many are teacher centers.
Okay,
For example.
very good. Yes, that
Ma'am,
is.
can I add more in my
Yes,
opinion?
please. Yes, please. Very
Teacher
good.
centered means that the teacher as the only source of knowledge. So
Oh.
everything is come from the teacher. So it's like spoon feeding for the student, and the student become passive, and the more active is teacher. For example, in metode ceramah, there is a teacher. Thank you.
Very good indeed. Perfect answers for both of you. Okay, good. Now, what is also happening at the moment in school in general is that there is a degradation of character. Do you believe in that one? Can you tell me any example of cases? Do you often read news that's shocking you, for example? Look at the news, for example. People are making a kind of what is it? Video, sexual abuse video, and it is made viral, and people are not embarrassed about it. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and also people look at also the hawks that we have. People, the way people are talking to the person that's supposed to be respected is not that good. Look at the way people talking to Mr. President, for example. Whether you like him or not, for example, but the position of Mr. Jokowi is the president. As the president of the Indonesia, you have to be polite. Look at the way people address him, for example. So we see that a lot of degradation of the character. Even people do not realize that those one is not polite. Bagi banyak orang ada yang mengatakan itu biasa-biasa saja. Berarti apa? Mereka sudah datang dari budaya yang berbeda. So for that reason, the process of teaching now need to be changed. It before, for example, you only focus on the content of the subject. Now you have to think also how you are also care about character. So the method of teaching that you have to use must be also paying attention on the character. The next factor is not outcome-based. What is meant by this? The process of teaching that people do are mostly not to refer to the purpose that you have to achieve, like I told you before. People sometimes teach based on what they like to teach. Oh, I have good material. This is, I will give to my student. Not referring to what is the purpose of having the course. Remember the example I gave you? Say, for example, the example of teaching elementary school, for example. Kalau tujuannya adalah agar siswa itu mudah mengikuti pelajaran di kelas, maka proses mengajarnya adalah diuraikan, disesuaikan dengan tujuan tersebut. So what was provided by Novelli before, misalnya tujuannya adalah untuk membantu dia mengerjakan tugas. Karena apa? Tujuan ikuti pelajaran bahasa Inggris di tempat kursusnya Novelli adalah agar dia apa? Agar dia bisa lebih mudah memahami pelajarannya. Kalau tujuannya adalah agar anak itu bisa berbicara dengan komunikasi yang sederhana, maka tidak bisa textbook oriented. Proses belajarnya adalah belajar berkomunikasi. That is what meant by outcome-based education. Artinya apa? Whatever the method of teaching that you are going to choose, that one must be referred to the purpose that you are going to achieve. Not based on the content that you like, not based on what you like. Oh, I have a good content or I have a good material. Yes, Rispa, that's okay, no problem. Okay, so that is not outcome-based. Now, the process of learning and also the process of teaching need to be changed is also because of external factor. What is meant by external factor here? There are many factors that is in the second column that I gave on screen. You can read it there. The demand of industrial era 4.0 or society 4.0. What does it mean? We are now living in a technology-based environment. If, for example, you want to apply for scholarship, for example, in the past, you have to be able to fill in the form, and after that you send envelope, printed paper. But now if you want to apply for a scholarship, everything must be online. So imagine, for example, if you don't know how to apply for online application. So meaning that technology must be included in your teaching and learning. Society now are society 5.0, which means all are digitalized. Look at, for example, if you want to go to a certain place, you can just order a Grab, for example. If you want to find food, you have tried to click Grab food, for example, right? So all are digitalized. If you want to say, for example, you want to go to a restaurant, or now you have to use the QR barcode, for example. So things like that. If, for example, imagine if you don't know English, imagine if you don't know technology, how your student will be able to survive, right? Okay, the next one is that we are living in a 21st century. So the process of teaching must be also how the method of teaching that you have to choose must be able to accommodate 21st century skill. Have you ever heard about this one? 21st century skills? What are they? There are 3 categories, like it is mentioned here. Look at this one. Yeah, 3 categories here of the 21st century skill. That is, the first one is life and career skill. The second one is learning and innovation skills. The last one is that media literacy technology skills. So if you want your student to be able to have 21st century skills, the skill that must be included in your process of teaching is life and career skills, learning and innovation skill, media literacy technology skills. What is meant by this? If you want, what is meant by the student? What are the indicator of the student who are having 21st century skills? Apa ciri-cirinya orang yang memiliki keterampilan abad 21? Dan kenapa ini harus kita masukkan dalam metode pembelajaran? Anybody like to give me opinion? Adakah kalian yang membaca aturan bahwa masa generasi emas Indonesia, kapan itu?
2045.
Yes, 2045. So what kind of generations that must be indicated by the students of golden generation? Yang bagaimana ciri-cirinya? Kalau lihat di aturan di Standar Nasional Pendidikan Tinggi dan juga di di aturan-aturan yang lain, maka di situ salah satunya adalah mampu menjadi global citizen. Artinya, wherever, if example you are now studying in Palangkaraya, you might be, after this, you might be a lecturer in Filipina, might be, or you might be working in Australia, might be, or after your master degree, might be you are working in Europe. You are prepared to be globalized. You are prepared to be global citizen. Anda disiapkan menjadi warga negara dunia. Artinya dimanapun hidup, tidak takut, selalu bisa. In order to be like that, this is the skill that you have to have. Ini keterampilan abad 21 yang harus dimiliki. Life and career skill, bagaimana Anda memiliki life skill, bagaimana Anda memiliki career skill, bagaimana memiliki learning and innovation skill, bagaimana memiliki media literacy technology skills. Those must be owned by any student in order the student in Indonesia are having golden generation. Saya berikan contoh. I remember long time ago, I was in applying for my master degree in Australia. Saya ingat ketika saya akan kuliah di Australia tahun 1990. You might not born yet at that time. It's not technology based at that time. Saya tinggal di Bali, kemudian hidup di Melbourne. Bayangkan, di Melbourne itu kita bagaimana harus catch a bus, kalau beda banget. Artinya apa? I have to be able to have a good life skill. Saya harus mampu mandiri, saya harus mampu kalau saya misalnya harus ke rumah sakit, harus tahu bagaimana tata cara ke rumah sakit. Saya harus tahu kalau misalnya saya harus memperpanjang visa, saya harus tahu bagaimana cara memperpanjang visa, saya harus bayar pajak, gimana cara bayar pajak. That is life skill. Right? Career skill for example, how you are able to have basic competencies in order to build your career. Dari sekian agensi yang ada di luar negeri yang saya lihat, career skill yang diharapkan itu adalah yang paling mendasar. Yang pertama adalah karakter, yang kedua adalah communication skills. So imagine if, for example, you don't have good skill, if you don't have any communication skill, how you are able to apply for a job, for example. If you don't understand what is meant by being punctual, meaning that you don't understand that being able to be a good employee, you have to show that you are able to be punctual. So that is one example of life and career skill. And what is needed to be included in a process of teaching and learning is this skill, learning and innovation skill, which are originally 4C. Kalian tahu nggak 4C? Yang sangat terkenal harus dimasukkan ke dalam learning and innovation skill and a process of teaching. What are they? What are the 4C?
The 4C are critical thinking.
Yes.
The second one is creativity.
Yes.
And the third one is collaboration.
Yes.
The fourth is communication.
Yeah. So those 4 skills must be taught in any subject that you teach. So no matter whether you are an English teacher or any mathematics teachers, that 4C, learning and innovation skill must be inserted. Now, the last 5 years, 4C sudah berubah menjadi 6C. Apa tambahannya? Ini beda-beda versinya. Ada yang memasukkan creativity, beda-beda ya. Ada yang memasukkan yang lain. Yang salah satu sumber yang dipakai itu adalah compassion and computational thinking. Sehingga sekarang yang menjadi tanggung jawab seorang guru untuk mengajar itu adalah menyisipkan keterampilan 6C. Tidak lagi 4C. Kenapa tidak lagi 4C? Kenapa harus ditambahkan 2C lagi? What do you think? Kenapa? Karena dua skill ini, compassion and computational thinking, dianggap amat mendasar dan perlu dimiliki oleh setiap siswa, setiap human being bahkan. What are they? Computational thinking. Apa itu computational thinking? In your word, you can use your word or your example. What is that? What is that? You don't understand what is meant by computational thinking?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Computational thinking, in my opinion, is like how to solve the problem.
Very good indeed. Computational thinking is not dealing with only, it's not only dealing with calculating something, but also thinking about the risk. Kalian memilah-milah. Kalau begini gimana caranya? Menalar. Computational thinking is that how you are able to have the skill of computing any risk. memperkirakan resikonya nantinya apa. Kalau ini saya tidak lakukan, apa yang terjadi? Kalau ini yang saya lakukan, apa yang akan terjadi? So you are able to solve the problem. Nah, computational thinking itu adalah keterampilan memecahkan masalah. Banyak orang tidak mampu. Why? Because people sometimes solving the problem, but not the problem is solved, another problem is created. Am I right? Memecahkan masalah tapi masalah baru yang muncul, meaning that computational thinking is not good. Jadi penalaran di sini sangat-sangat penting. So that's why you need to be able to think about how the method of teaching that you have itu harus benar-benar mengembangkan penalaran. Your ways of thinking must be developed. Compassion, what is compassion?
Related to our mental management, mental aspect, man.
Yes, very good. Nurani, kata hati, jangan sampai kalian mengambil sesuatu dengan melanggar kata hati, tidak berlogika, dan merugikan orang lain. So that's why this one need to be added in your process of teaching. Not only that, this is how the 21st century skill it must be accommodated, but also this is the one. Differences in generation due to differences in the era that affect the differences in character between generation. For example, like me, I belong to baby boomer generation. You are millennial generation. Cara saya mengajar dulu ketika saya diajar tidak bisa disamakan dengan mengajar kalian. You will be teaching Z generation might be later. So the way you are taught now might not be able to be used again for teaching the younger generation. Why? Because every generation live in different environment and build different character. Misalnya zaman dulu saya mengatakan, oh zaman dulu orang kita kok jalan kaki sekian kilo masuk nggak apa-apa. Zaman sekarang digituin. Who trust you? Because everyone now is on ride. 1 kilo aja naik sepeda motor, jangan 1 kilo 500 meter aja naik sepeda motor, isn't it? If you are now asking your student to walk, for example, to go somewhere, and you compare yourself with your student, me especially, who are living in a very old generation before, mengharapkan disamakan dengan mengajar kalian, that will not be that appropriate. Kenapa? Different generation bring about different character. For that reason, you have to be able to think how you change yourself or how you change the method of teaching, in order to be adapted based on the student need. That another factor that you have to consider. Another factor that you have to consider is that the knowledge of development. We have pedagogy, andragogy, hutagogy, pedagogy, cybergogy that need to be considered in order how the process of teaching need to be changed or adapted. All of these make you decide that the implementation of teaching in the classroom must be adjusted. So you cannot rely on the method of teaching which might be appropriate in the past. You just use it the way it is without trying to adjust based on the need of your student, based on the environment of your student where you are, and also based on the situation, how the teaching learning process will be taking place. So you have to adjust based on the needs. So the learning process must be outcome-oriented by considering current issue, internal, external factors. So you have to think about what is the purpose that we are going to achieve, how is the environment, how is the internal factor, how is the external factor, and how those one need to be accommodated. Right. I would like to explain about what is meant by pedagogy, andragogy, hutagogy, pedagogy, and cybergogy, which must be considered in deciding what method that you have to choose. Anybody can tell me what are they? Ada yang sudah punya pengetahuan awal what is meant by pedagogy, andragogy, hutagogy, pedagogy, cybergogy? Anybody want to try?
I just know about the pedagogy, ma'am. It's about strategy in teaching. Sorry.
Pedagogy, yeah. So what is the difference between pedagogy and andragogy and hutagogy? Anybody like to understand about this one? So these the changes of paradigm in education influence the selections of the teaching process and the teaching method. Right. Pedagogy is they are coming from two words, yeah. Peda, child, goji, how to lead a child to be able from not knowing into know something. So in a pedagogy perspective, the instructor, the teacher is the leader. So the instructor is the center. Why? Because in this perspective, the student is the one who don't know, who doesn't know anything. For that reason, the teacher is the resource person. That is how we learn at the beginning, right? The process is mostly unidirectional. It's only from the teacher because the teacher is the source of information. I was born from this kind of perspective. Sehingga guru satu-satunya adalah sumber belajar. Jangan dulu ini satu-satunya dipakai sebagai acuan mengajar. Why? Because we don't have any sources other than the teachers who are learning from the book. We don't have any internet at that time. So the teacher is the source of information. Right? But nowadays, this one is not enough. Pedagogy is still needed, but it's not enough. You need to equip yourself with andragogy. What is meant by andragogy? Andragogy is a kind of knowledge or perspective or paradigm who consider the student as adult learner. In this perspective, because the students are adult learner, the students are able to lead themselves. Because of that, if you are adopting andragogy perspective, you have to be able to provide your student with the skill of how to be self-directed, how to be self-regulated. Why? Because you are teaching adult students. In this case, students are considered as the center of the learning because they are able to self-direct themselves. They are able to self-regulate themselves. Inilah yang banyak belum dikerjakan orang. Kita bertahun-tahun terlena dengan perspektif pedagogi, di mana guru adalah sumber informasi. Bahkan zaman itu saya ada dalam kategori di mana kalau bertanya dia anggap protes. Have you had that experience when you are in elementary school, might be, or senior high, might be? Do you have that experience with you? Anybody? No? You are lucky. But in some places, for example, the teachers do not like students who are asking questions a lot. Why? Because again, I told you, we are too long to be in this perspective. So we forget that the students that we are dealing with sometimes are not children anymore. So they need to be directed, they need to be able to direct themselves. But the fact that the process of teaching are still mostly using pedagogy perspective only. For that reason, you have to be able to move forward. It's not only enough to study about pedagogy, but you also need to study about andragogy, the study of of where the student is considered to be adult learner. As adult learner, so the student must be able to lead themselves. The student must be able to direct themselves. So that's why here the subject of learning is the student themselves, right? But nowadays, because of the development, then studying about pedagogy and andragogy even is not enough anymore. You also need to equip yourself with hutagogy. Hutagogy is how you are able to make your student to be self-determined. What is meant by self-determined? Students are able not only to direct themselves, not only to self-regulate themselves, but able to find solution for themselves. Here, the hutagogy is that how you are able to make your student as problem solver of their own problem. So in order to do that, the process of teaching and learning must be multi-directional. The teacher as the source of information might not be enough. The student must be able to be provided with the skill how to explore information online. The student must be able to decide what to learn, what to find out in order to solve the problem. So that is called hutagogy. All right. This one is not enough as well because of the development of the society and also technology that we have. You also need to learn about pedagogy. What is meant by pedagogy? Like I told you, our institution, sorry, our nation like to build golden generation. What does it mean? What does it mean? Generation who are able to be global citizen. What does it mean? If you want now, for example, I'm teaching you now, what we expect from you is that you might be demanded to work to be a teacher in a Malaysia, for example, Malaysian school, for example, or you might be expected to be able to teach in a Singaporean school, for example. So you have to be able to have what is it? Global, to be global citizen character. Why so? Because that's how we are globalized. Now, in order to do that, you have to study about pedagogy. What is meant by that? You have to learn how to build networking. Because if you don't have any networking, you are not able to find out any network where you are able to lead your life into a more successful life. So you have to teach your student how to build collaboration. You have to teach your student how to make communication properly. Ingat, pedagogy ini tidak sekedar melakukan kolaborasi. Dilatih di dalamnya ada bagaimana bernegosiasi, bagaimana bisa melakukan komunikasi sehingga dari tidak setuju menjadi setuju, bagaimana bisa memahami orang lain. Have you ever seen, masih ingat bagaimana karakter yang ditunjukkan oleh Menteri Luar Negeri kita? How she build networking is so good. Kalau lihat portofolionya, Menteri Luar Negeri Indonesia luar biasa. She is so good in building networking. She is so good in how making collaboration. This is the philosophy of pedagogy. Berasal dari kata peer leading, right? Now, the last one that is also needed is that cybergogy. How you are able to teach your student so your student is able to survive in a technological based environment. So this is how we need to incorporate technology in the process of teaching. Right, so that is why the reasons of why the process of teaching must be adopted. Now, anybody, can you tell me what will be if we are having this one, pedagogy, right? Andragogy, hutagogy, pedagogy, cybergogy. Those are the things that you need to consider in order you are able to be a professional teacher So your method of teaching will be suited, will be adjusted based on the student need and the environment. Now, can you tell me, what do you think is the responsibility of the teacher in the future? I would like Paria Nadira to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. Ya, jadi mohon maaf kameranya gangguan sedikit.
Okay.
Oke. Ya, jadi di dunia internasional ini salah satunya menjadi penting untuk, ya walaupun memang di Indonesia masih tabu untuk bahasa Inggris, memang apalagi di pedesaan yang jauh dari buku apalagi internet. Jadi saya pikir guru ya mungkin SMP ya, karena saya SD sih agak di tempat saya ini baru tahun-tahun ini bahasa Inggris itu diadakan 2 tahun terakhir ini. Jadi sepertinya penting untuk guru mengajarkan atau mengapply dari yang sampaikan dari pedagogik, kemudian otagogik, pedagogik, dan cybergogik itu tadi, mem. Karena ya kita nggak bisa pungkiri bahwa kita dengan internet pun kita bisa berinteraksi dengan orang di luar sana dari Zoom meeting. Jadi soft skill itu diperlukan untuk siswa untuk bisa berkomunikasi ke orang-orang di luar sana. Mungkin begitu, Mas.
Okay, thank you. Good. Alfian, now can you tell me your opinion? What will be your responsibility if, for example, you have to consider all of those that I told you before? How do you think is the, what is it, the job of a teacher that must be done? Is it very challenging, very easy, or what? And give your reason.
Oke, mem. Saya sebagai siswa, saya lihat teacher center itu sudah kuno, mem. Jadi jika saya dipilih, bisa memilih yang mana yang akan saya pilih, mungkin saya akan memilih heutagogy atau pedagogi atau cybergogi, mem. Karena sebagai teacher kita itu harus menjadi garda depan lah untuk memecah tradisi kekunoan dari teacher center tadi, dan akan kita ubah menjadi student center.
Ini Alfian, is not a matter of choices. You have to, ya. Karena tuntutan zaman ini kita harus berubah sesuai ini. Kita nggak bisa milih gitu loh, in order to be survive in this era. Okay, good point. Now, do you think that it's easy to what is it? To make your student is able to make collaboration and communication? I would like to have Tricia.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. About my opinion relating to the students in making collaboration. Before that, I share my experience, ma'am.
Yep. Good.
Okay. Actually, I have just known the term like andragogy, pedagogy, heterogogy, and cybergogy. But actually, in real life, when I teach, I kind of realized that I've already applied it a little bit. I mean,
that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I don't teach only English in my school. I also teach them PPKN, so a little bit more in building their character. So actually, in my school, the background of the students, my school is in very remote area, and we only have electricity in the evening. So we have no electricity in the morning, and our school have no technologies, gadgets, or whatever it's called, and network service there is really, really bad. So the students about the cybergogy, actually, it's really hard for them to engage. But in pedagogy, I think it happens in some class that students sometimes tuh kayak pilih-pilih teman kalau misalnya kita bagi kelompok. Nah, jadi di beberapa kasus saya itu melakukan pendekatan seperti menceritakan bahwa nanti kalau kalian kerja itu tuh kita nggak bisa pilih-pilih teman loh. Kita tuh selama hidup ini kita nggak tahu nanti kita akan dibawa kemana. Nah, saya melakukan pendekatan-pendekatan seperti itu yang akhirnya membuat siswa akhirnya mau terbuka dengan teman-temannya dan bisa berinteraksi dengan baik. Nah, menurut saya di situ saya sudah sepertinya sudah menerapkan andragogy di mana saya menempatkan siswa itu seperti mereka bisa direct diri mereka sendiri, bisa berpikir, tapi dibawa dengan membayangkan sesuatu yang mungkin akan terjadi di depan gitu. Kemudian untuk yang lainnya lagi seperti cyberjogi itu kalau mereka di luar sekolah kebetulan sinyalnya bagus, jadi saya sering kalau untuk bahasa Inggris itu bikin project based di mana mereka bisa pakai handphonenya buat bikin video, bikin konten atau apa gitu. Karena saya lihat siswa-siswa di sekolah itu suka bikin di luaran sekolah mereka itu suka bikin konten, bikin foto atau video atau TikTok challenge. Nah, daripada itu sekedar untuk main-main, saya manfaatkan hobi mereka itu untuk membuat konten belajar gitu kan.
Good,
Yeah.
good point. Actually, you are accommodating some part of those one. It is really very good. Right. Can I know what was the problem, the challenge that you had in you teach your student in that way?
Okay. The challenge is the first thing. I think that their family background, because the students are from low education, their parents and their families come from very low education level. So I think they don't think of education as important thing. Nah, jadi mereka itu lebih ke money oriented. Nah, jadi
Alright.
kalau saya lebih melakukan pendekatan kalau untuk bahasa Inggris daripada membuat mereka smart or intelligent, saya lebih meningkatkan their awareness of why study is important, why English is important. Biasanya saya tunjukkan konten, saya tunjukkan video orang-orang sukses, orang-orang atau biasanya saya tunjukkan aja video di luar, misalnya orang di luar negeri. Nah, ini di luar negeri loh, kalian nggak ada impian kah mau pergi ke tempat seperti ini? Nah, that's I think that's the most challenging. The first thing is to develop the students' awareness for studying, I think.
Okay, good point. Anybody want to give any answer as well? What is the challenge that you have when you are expected to include not only 21st century, but also the changes paradigm that we just discussed? Anybody want to say something?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, please. Good.
This is based on my experience, but also my opinion. I think technology development is scary, but yet helpful. I mean scary because the technology development is really rapid, so fast. And there are so many teachers. I mean, all teachers. I'm an English teacher at a school in Palangkaraya. And there are so many teachers, old teachers, to be honest, that they cannot follow the technology development. So that they really depend on too much to me or to other teachers that we can say that technology literate. And I think that makes me need to teach them about the technology that they can do it by themselves so that they can do it independently like that. And it is the challenge for us to face that technology development. But if I have to teach my students by using technology environment, it's really easy because I don't face so many difficulties when I teach my students. Because if I have to be honest, most of my students are TikTok celebrities and also YouTubers, and they have so many subscribers. And even my students have a best friend from another country, and so many of my students can speak English well. So if I need to apply technology in my classroom, I don't face any difficulties. But yet, lately my school make another obligation that students cannot bring their phone to the class. So that's another challenge for me. That what should I do to face this condition? And then so that we have a WhatsApp group. So I send a message to them like, please tomorrow I ask 5 of you to bring your own phones, but your phone need to be give it to me like that. I don't want them to break the rule of the schools that they don't bring the phone to school. So that's why I ask them to give their phone to me. So when I teach them, I will bring the phone to the class and I will give it to them, and we will learn English by the judges like that, ma'am. That is my experience.
Okay, very good. Even I think your points are truly right. So even if you can see that people are using English and they insert in the daily communication, meaning that more and more people use English for their daily communication. Am I right? So we cannot just, use English as a kind of the only one of foreign language that we have to teach, because now more and more people are use it. So what does it mean? Even now it's more obligated for every people must be able to speak English because of this globalized environment that we have. Without you realize you like it or not, you cannot avoid things like that. So good one. Now let's see the next stage. Now, how the learning process must be done. Learn and run, not really, sorry, relearn. Sorry, this one is not right. So what must be here is relearn. So if you want to teach in this era, so you have to be able to have this learning process, right? So what does it mean? Have you ever heard about this one? This, what is it? This term? Ada yang sudah tahu istilah ini, learn, relearn? Sudah pernah dengar sebelumnya? Ini siapa punya? Ini quote-nya siapa? Ada yang tahu? No? Ini pendapatnya Alvin Toffler. Ini sangat viral. Ini learning process yang sekarang itu harus dibuat, learn, relearn, run, unlearn, relearn. Ini merupakan apa namanya, a procedure learning that you have to be able to do, right? Okay, so what does it mean? Artinya bahwa kalian belajar untuk bisa menjadi guru, menjadi orang berhasil, you have to learn something. But then after that, you have to unlearn something. Unlearn something itu artinya apa? Throwing away irrelevant things. You have to be able to change and adjusting the learning new things. So this is the last one, right? Jadi bagaimana kalian pertama belajar dulu, habis itu membuang hal-hal yang sudah tidak berlaku lagi dan belajar hal baru. This is how to be literate menurut Alvin Toffler nowadays. So Alvin Toffler say that the process of learning nowadays in today's era must be learn, unlearn, relearn. Saya pakai diri saya sudah mengajar di Undiksa itu di atas 30 tahun. Sudah berapa tahun ya saya mengajar? Sudah 34 tahun saya mengajar di Undiksa. Jikalau saya tidak mau melakukan proses yang kedua, unlearn, saya mungkin sudah menjadi dosen-dosen yang tertinggal. dosen yang out of date, dosen yang masuk kotak. Kenapa? Karena saya tidak mau membuang hal-hal dulu mungkin. What I learned before is considered to be appropriate, but now is not appropriate anymore. Right? So the safe example before I said, okay, people who are not able to follow what I said must be punished, for example. In the past, that one is considered to be appropriate, but now might not that appropriate. So you have to learn how to change negative behavior into positive behavior without giving any punishment. So that is something that you have to unlearn. Buang sesuatu yang sudah tidak appropriate, and then you have to be able to change yourself and relearn something new. So that's why the process of learning must be done every second. You are learning how to control your emotion. You are learning about your student personality, for example. Or before, my students are all very obedient. Now the students tend to be very critical, for example. So I have to learn something new, how to deal with critical students, for example. Right? Things like that. So this is the process of learning that you have to consider. So then your student must be able to be provided with any characters, so they are able to realize that they have to be able to have lifelong learning. So how you are able to equip your student to be able to have that character, so then they are able to adapt themselves. If, for example, they are going to a certain country, they are able to change themselves, they are able to adapt themselves, they are able to study something new in there, things like that. So they are able to survive. So that character must be added. And here, look at this picture. So in a 21st century method of teaching, there are certain characteristics that you have to understand. There are certain characteristics that you have to consider. What was considered to be appropriate before, now this might not be appropriate. Say, for example, in choosing the material that you have to teach. Nowadays, the 21st century characteristic of learning material that must be provided, number one is that flexible delivery. What does it mean? You have to be ready if, for example, the situation needs you to be on site, to come to face, you are ready to do that. But suddenly, for example, because of certain reason, you have to teach online. So your material must be also flexible to be changed from material for face-to-face teaching, and that material will be okay to be used using online mode of learning, for example. So that one kind of characteristic of the process of teaching that you have to consider based on the characteristic of the teaching that you have to take care, that you have to take into consideration in order you are able to teach in this modern era. The next one is that you are also thinking about how your students are able to be the agent of their own learning. Imagine that you are teaching your student, and then people say that, all right, I'm teaching younger grade. I don't think that they are able to be the agent of their own learning. Many studies mention that, no. Treating the student to be, or teaching students to be the agent of their own learning can be started from elementary school. There are many research about it. So you have to be able to prepare your student, how the student can be prepared to be the agent of their own learning, to be self-directed. You have to be able to socialize about it. You cannot start it when you are, for example, adult, and then you will be surprised to see that your students are very dependent on you. Why? Because they are not trained how to be able to decide for themselves in order to be the agent of their own learning. Okay, so at the moment, I would like to stop until this point. We will have questions because our time is going to be up. We'll continue next time. Now I would like to open for more questions. So until that point, do you understand what is the point of our session this morning? Anybody can tell me what is the point of our session this afternoon? What can you conclude from what I explained before? Yes, please. Anybody can tell me? Eva and Diana, what can you conclude from our session this afternoon?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your explanation. It is very clear. And what I can conclude is, I have to be an up-to-date teacher. Saya harus menjadi semakin dengan majunya perkembangan zaman, perkembangan teknologi, seorang guru juga harus up-to-date, harus berkembang.
Very good. So you have to be able to, what is it? You have to be able to change yourself. Is that what you mean? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other student want to give opinion about this one? What is the sessions that you have to? What is the focus of what is it? Today's explanation?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please, Novelli.
In my opinion, I can conclude today in our session that teaching and learning today facing a lot of changes related to the digital era and all the development of the technology and information. And that we all as the teacher, also the learners, need to be able to compete with those development. And this is challenging, yet giving us a lot of opportunities in our future, where we also know that we are facing the digital era. That means there will be a lot of differences and a lot of like transition between the technique, the method, the needs, and also the character of the teacher or the learner itself, and also the environment that keep on changing. And this is our job to be understood how to react and how to defend ourselves also. And as the teacher in the future, we also having a big homework, I think, to be the first filter how to prepare this generation to be able to following all the development that we have. I think that's all in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, very good indeed. Now I would like you to do a kind of reflections before we still have about 4 minutes. We are talking about the shift paradigm from pedagogy that is not enough anymore. You have to study about andragogy, which is not also enough. You have to provide yourself with hutagogy, pedagogy, and cybergogy, for example. Now, if based on the observations that you have in your environment, whether you are teaching or not, do you think that the process of teaching that are mostly conducted by teachers at the moment already providing the opportunity to be able to reflect that they are following the values of hutagogy, for example, how to be self-directed? Do you think that the process of teaching in your area has been giving opportunity for the student to be self-directed, for example?
Ma'am, may I answer?
Yes, please, Risa.
Yes. Actually, I think in my particular environment, it is happening already since pandemic. ma'am. So it's kind of turning back for our generation that the pandemic impacts so many thing in our life and in educational level too. For example, my student, I teach them offline and online, and it's very different to teach them when online. When online, they become more creative to find another sources for learning, because I am not cannot be able to teach them directly. So I think it's the human nature to to adapt quickly. So I think it is happening already since pandemic COVID.
Are you sure? Can you tell me how that during the pandemic, the students are accommodated to be self-directed? Are you sure that your students are able to do that by nature without you are doing specific strategies and method in order your students are self-directed?
Yes. As a teacher, I should adapt too, ma'am, when the pandemic come. When before we teach in traditional way that face to face, but in pandemic era, I should provide the clear instruction for them to learn by themselves with the limited time too. So the teacher also, like you said before, lifelong learner, and we must adapt quickly since actually in pandemic, I mean, it's give a very significant impact in teaching and learning process in my particular area.
Yeah, many people admit that making students to be self-directed is not that easy, right? But even though we realize that during the pandemic is the chance for the teachers to ask the student to practice how to be self-directed. Okay, but there is no research about it yet. Are you interested to do that research? That will be good research for you. Analyzing the self-directness of the student during, for example, the process of teaching and learning. So you are able to analyze how self-directed the students are in the process of teaching and learning. That is not so many research about it yet. If you like, you can do that, right? That is a good kind of research from which you are able to make a kind of novelty for the process of teaching, because people now still asking how to make the students self-directed is not that easy, right? Okay. Right, our time is up. Do you learn something? What is something new that you learned from today's session?
Paradigm.
Yeah, good. So what else that you learned?
Deciding the objective and the method.
Yeah, how
It's
the method
important.
of teaching must be adapted based on the objective of teaching.
Yes.
Very good. So you have to decide first what are the objective of teaching. After you know what are the objective, and then you decide the method of teaching. Again, you have to be able to change the way of teaching that you have based on the internal factor that we experience, based on external factor that we face at the moment. Without, whether you like it or not, you have to be able to adjust the method of teaching that you have. In order to be able to do the adjustment of the method of teaching, what is the process of learning that you have to do? You keep learning, right? You keep learning, the first one. The second one, you unlearn things which are not relevant. And after that, you
Relearn.
Relearn, ma'am.
relearn something. Right, so you keep learning, you unlearn something which are not relevant, and after that, you
Changing and
relearn, change the method of teaching that you have. Okay. I don't know what was studied for in an area of that method of teaching during S1 degree, Do you study about many kinds of teaching that have been available so far? Might be because of the time that we have, only 4 sessions. So I might share the book that I published. I made a book in Bahasa Indonesia. If you like, you can read the book. Say, for example, strategi pembelajaran bahasa yang saya buat sekian tahun yang lalu. Di situ ada konsep apa perbedaan approach, metode, dan teknik, dan berbagai jenis metode pembelajaran bahasa. So if you like, I can share it. So I can give it to Yogi. Maybe later you can study about it. So then you can use it as a kind of reading during your free time. So next week I will teach you about differentiated instruction. Have you ever heard about differentiated instruction? Belum? Not yet, right? So you have to know about this one. Kenapa? Ini sudah diperkenalkan lewat sekolah penggerak, guru penggerak. Saya tidak mau kalian jadi master nanti nggak paham itu. Saya sudah menerapkan itu sejak tahun 2012 di sekolah saya. Saya belajar secara langsung when I was in Indiana University, long time ago in America. Saya belajar ketika saya di Amerika tahun 1998, if I'm not mistaken. No, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. Iya, itu sudah diperkenalkan lama di Amerika dan baru diterapkan di Indonesia belakangan ini secara intensif, but not really well implemented yet. But this model method of teaching is so appropriate to be used nowadays. I will discuss about it next week. Dan untuk sebagai bekal kalian biar tahu tentang berbagai metode dan teknik mengajar, you can read in my book. I have the book in Bahasa Indonesia, which I used a long time ago, but you can use it for free reading when you have free time. Okay? Is it clear, everyone? Nanti mungkin saya akan menyuruh kalian membuat summary sebagai tugasnya dari sebuah artikel. Then I hope that you are able to have a kind of ideas how that want to be done. Itu mungkin sebagai tugas yang kalian harus submit sehingga saya bisa mendapatkan nilai dari sana. So I would like you to give a kind of innovative ideas yang mungkin jarang ditemuin tetapi masih dalam kategori teaching for young learner or bisa diadaptasikan yang sudah dipublikasi di dalam artikel saya. So you can find out later. Satu artikel yang akan saya suruh kalian baca itu dipublish di Key 2 Scopus, yang satu lagi International Journal, which give you kind of ideas how innovation in the process of teaching, which is innovative to be done in a school. Okay, so that might be as a kind of to replace assessment that must be done. Ya, untuk pengganti assessment, karena saya tidak mungkin memberikan assessment dalam bentuk 2 jam misalnya, so that will be a kind of assignment that you have to do. Okay, thank you everyone for today's session. Thank you for having me in here, and we will see you again next week. Yogi, can you please remind me again later what must be when it will be done? Is it every week, Yogi?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
All right, thank you. So I will be with you every week. So I hope that you are able to prepare yourself, and we will have more discussion later. So I hope that you learn from what we have today. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Please apologize if there are any inconveniences during the session that we have. I never do it on purpose. That is because of I care to the students that I teach. Okay, see you guys.
See you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a nice day.
Bye.